podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to a new podcast, The Paddock and the Pavilion with Stephen Wallace. In each show, Stephen will interview someone connected to the world of horse racing or cricket.
Hello everyone, I hope you've all had a relaxing Easter. With the flat racing season due to return to Newmarket's Rolly Mile course on Tuesday the 13th of April, I caught up with young Danish jockey Selma Grage, who has just moved yards at the home of racing. Enjoy today's podcast. Go aften, Selma.
Go aften, Stephen.
My Danish practice worked then. That's good evening, yeah? Well, very pleased to chat to you on the Paddock and the Pavilion. To start with, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. I'm pleased to be here. Doing well. Everything taken into consideration with lockdown and that. Now that at least there's a light at the end of the tunnel with the new season starting this coming weekend. So it's good.
And you've started at a new job?
Yeah. So last week's Monday, I started working at a new yard in Newmarket at Kevin Philip Hart de Foy. And it's been a very good week and a half so far. Very nice team, nice horses, lovely yard and everything. So it's brilliant. And
it is down the Berry Road, is that right?
No, it's on Old Station Road in Newmarket. So it's from the clock tower. You sort of have Berry Road, Old Station Road. So it's just the opposite side of Warren Hill.
And with all the lockdowns, when was the last time you went back to Denmark?
That was in September last year when I actually had 4 rides at my local race course, which was quite brilliant. And then I had an extended week where I saw my family there, which was great.
I wondered when you'd last gone back. So you got that short window, because I thought if you hadn't gone back then, you probably would have had 12 months without seeing your family.
Yeah, no, that's true. I was very lucky to be able to go and race back home, which meant that obviously it was sort of actually a business trip. And I managed to get home a few times when lockdown was kind of eased off, which was obviously really nice because otherwise, as you say, it would have been more than a year since I'd seen any of my family. So, yeah.
Was that the first time you'd ridden in Denmark?
So, yeah, last year I went to Denmark twice to race ride. Once, or it was basically one of the times was in the summer and one of the times was there in September. The first time I only had 2 rides and then the second time I had 4 because the rules had changed. So the second time I went, it was only professionals that were allowed to ride or apprentices, working towards getting a professional license. Because usually in Denmark, there's a lot of amateur riders and they can ride against the professionals. So to me, that kind of opened up another opportunity, which meant that I got more rides, some spare rides, which was great.
And any winners when you were out there?
Unfortunately not. I had a second and a third and a fourth, I think. And that was that. But it's very different racing over there, and I was just really happy to, be able to go over and see everyone, and had a lot of people coming out to watch me race, which was really nice as well, and it was a good experience altogether.
Well, good. Well, hopefully you'll get some winners in Denmark, but let's go back to your childhood days. I said to my last guest we had to go back a long time, but in your case we don't have to go back too long. No. Can you just tell us a bit about your own background, your family background?
So I started riding when I was 3 years old with my mum. My mum used to ride when she was young and had a long break while she was growing up. And then when I started riding, she sort of started to pick it up again. And at this time we were living in the south of Zealand in Denmark. And I started just riding at a normal basic riding school, where I think I rode there for about 3 years, 2-3 years. And then I started breaking in ponies with my mum. And it was a good experience. And my dad has never really been that much into horses. So he always supported me, but, he didn't really have a clue what was going on, but was always there anyway, which was nice as well. And but otherwise it's always been me and my mum sort of doing it. Then while I was breaking in ponies, the woman I was riding for had some donkeys. And I then started actually just riding donkeys, and I did that for about a year. And I was saying, oh, I'm never going to go back to horses again, which obviously I ended up doing after about a year, where we then had to move to the other end of the country, me, my mum and my brother. Then I started there. We found a new place where I could start riding. And I got my first pony there, which was a little Shetland pony, little chestnut filly, proper sassy little thing. But she taught me a lot, and I started doing pony harness racing. And so we lived there. We had the pony. Then we moved out to a farm where we then obviously had space for ponies. And then because I had a pony, my mum needed to get one. And then from there, it sort of just went on with more and more horses and ponies and whatnot. And, more and more pony racing, which was great as well. Brilliant start to get into racing in general, even though it's obviously harness racing, which is different to pony racing over here in England. It was, a great experience, and I've had some amazing times and raced all over Scandinavia and in Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. So yeah, it's been great. And then
harness racing is big in Scandinavia, isn't it?
It's very big in Scandinavia. Harness racing is way bigger than thoroughbred racing is. Thoroughbred racing we only sort of have from March till October, November sometimes. Which obviously, we have a few race courses, turf race courses, which are, I think we have 4 throughout the whole country. Obviously, it's a smaller country as well than England, but compared to we have 9 harness race courses that go all year round. And, there's a big tradition for that in Denmark and in Scandinavia in general. So,
and how many drivers, I think they're called, are in a harness race?
Well, it really depends on the race. It's a bit like thoroughbred racing. Some races there can be 12 horses, some and drivers, of course, and some there can be 4. It all depends on the actual race. So yeah,
must be quite tight because I've been myself to Gloucester Park in Perth in Australia. That's why I knew they were called drivers, and I've seen harness racing there, so it is a bit tight going around the bends, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be, but obviously because I had done all the pony racing, and you do a lot of training before you actually start racing, it's not like you get used to it. It's very different from thoroughbred racing though, because obviously you've got the 2 wheels, and you sort of have to you have to be aware that when you can't just turn, you have to know everything that's going around and what's happening, and especially when you're going racing pace, it can be very tight, and you literally the wheels are almost touching each other and that, and you don't want to do anything wrong there. But no, it's great experience really, and even though it's very different to thoroughbred racing, it's taught me a lot towards riding these races in England.
So after pony racing and harness racing in Denmark, when did you decide that you wanted to be a jockey and come over to the UK and go to the British Racing School?
So when I was 10 years old, I saw a video on YouTube from the British Racing School about their pony racing summer camp. And I was like, I need to go there. I didn't speak, I could speak a little bit of English, but I was like, I need to go there and I need to learn English so I can go there in the summer and it's going to be amazing. And anyway, so I always sort of watched all these videos on YouTube and dreamed of going to Newmarket. And when I was 14, I had to do an internship at work or at school where I had to kind of go out into a workplace. So I rang up this local thoroughbred trainer and asked if I could come there for the week. And she was like, yeah, you can come in. So I started there, started riding out a few thoroughbreds, just in the woods, hacking around and that. And then after the week, I was like, oh, can I still come in? And she was like, yeah, you can come whenever you want. So I used to go in there every single day I had off on the weekends, and sometimes after school we would go out riding. And so I started with that, and then slowly I sort of started riding for more and more trainers in Denmark. So I started riding yearlings for one of the bigger trainers there, which was a good experience as well. It taught me a lot. And then the third trainer I was riding for, she's lovely. She's the one who's given me a lot of the rides since when I've gone back to Denmark. And she was like, oh, you can come and ride out for me. I've just started up as a trainer, and we're going to be riding work. And I was like, okay. So I went there, rode my first piece of work, and it was great. And then when I was 15, because in Denmark you can get your race license when you're 15. So I sent the racing school an email saying, is there any possible chance you have any course in the summer holiday where I can come and, just a week or a month, or, do you do anything like that? They sent me an email back saying you can't do it because you're not 16 yet. So we recommend that you apply for a foundation course, and you have to send in your application in September. And I was like, okay, that's how it is. But then that was when I had just done all my exams in school. And then I had to go to a sort of boarding school. It's very different from boarding schools here in England. But I went there for a year, which was a great experience as well. But then in September, while I was there, I sent my application. And then I got a reply back saying, yeah, we're going to invite you for an interview in November, in the end of November. So
this is November 2017, I guess. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
So then I made a whole portfolio with all my pony racing achievements and results and experience with horses. And then my mum and I went over on a Tuesday. In the Tuesday morning, I had never been to England before, but I had been preparing a lot and, really tried to do my best, and went in there, came to Newmarket, and I was just amazed by the whole place. Sometimes when you've lived here for a while, you kind of forget how amazing it actually is. You just get so used to it every day with the horses walking around and all that. But as soon as I got out of the train, to me, there was just like horse racing everywhere, and there was a sale going on at Tattersalls at the time. So there was horse boxes everywhere, and there was just, it was just amazing to walk out, and on the bins and the high street, there's race horses, and there's like horseshoes in the stones, sort of like a walk of fame in Newmarket on the high street. And I was just, it was just a dream really. And so Wednesday we went to the racing school. I was staying out at a hotel in Exning with my mum, and when Wednesday morning we then went to the racing school, and I did my test, and they said, okay, you'll get a reply within a week with the results, whether you've gotten in or not. And I was, I thought it went quite well, but obviously I was a little bit nervous because I wasn't really from England. And actually, it's a bit funny, but when I went there, I was planning on just doing the 9-week course and then go back to Denmark and become a jockey there. But then because one of the trainers from Denmark who had given me a reference had put in her reference that the plan is that she's going to go to the BRS, come back and become a jockey in Denmark. And so they said to me at the interview, they were like, you are aware you have to stay here for at least a year after the course? And I was like, yeah, I know. That's just my trainer, what she wants me to do. That's perfectly fine. And my mum had just before the interview said, if, you say whatever you need to say, like if you have to stay, that's it. And if you do what you need to do. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. I came out, said to my mum, look, I'm going to have to stay in England for a bit longer than expected. And of course she was happy, but she was also a bit, it was a bit of a change in what she thought thought she had let me do, And then the next morning I woke up to an email confirming or basically saying that I had been accepted onto a course. And we had the rest of the day in Newmarket before we went home in the evening. And it was just amazing, really.
And then you came back for the course in, was it the July, is it? Or?
No, I came in August. In 2018, after I had finished boarding school, then summer holiday, and then I went in August. And so my mum came over with me, and then I started at the racing school, and I was there for 9 weeks, and it was a great experience, really. And even though at the racing school you kind of take some steps back compared to what I had been doing, like the first day you trot around inside the indoor menage and just do rising trot, and you do this and you do that, and I was like, this is very basic, but it was good to me because, well, it was a new country, even though I was good at speaking English, I was still picking everything up. And it's one thing is being able to speak school English. Another thing is to be able to speak, like
we do talk quickly as well, the English, don't we?
Yeah, they do. It was like, I would be perfectly fine if I was having like a one-to-one conversation. But sometimes there's this thing at the racing school called the common room, where everyone sort of, sits at the break and that. And everyone would be talking on top of each other, and I would be there like, I don't know what's going on. But I tried my best, and I picked it up really quick. When you're surrounded by language, you just pick it up. And yeah, I was on a great team, so it was really nice with some really nice teachers, and it was a very good start to get into racing, that's for sure.
And you learn a lot at the racing school over 9 weeks.
Yeah, I felt like I did. Even though I could ride before, it was kind of like a reset to, like, it was more, I don't know, we were just riding every day, and, we had teachers with us all the time, and it was just, it's quite hard. It's hard work, and the rules are hard, and the teachers can be quite strict. Like, we had really brilliant teachers, but it's also like you need to do everything correct. And I thought it was great. Some people think it's a bit of a waste of time, but to me and to the rest of my team, like I made a lot of friends, and it was just a brilliant start. And we learned so much, not only about riding, but also like racing history. And they also teach you, like, I had to do maths and English because I didn't have any English exams. So I had to do them sort of things, and they do cooking lessons and money, like budgeting and all them sort of things. So
it's very good grounding, isn't it? It's not just actually riding, is it? No,
definitely not. There's so much more to it, and I thought it was brilliant.
And what did your mum think to you leaving home and living in Newmarket, which must be very different to, as you said, to where you lived in Denmark?
Well, she never held me back from doing it. My dad was a little bit more against it because I actually didn't ask him before I went, or before I went to my interview. I kind of just said, look, I'm going to this interview to maybe get into a racing school in England. And he was like, well, if it was up to me, you wouldn't have gone this and that. And I was like, well, can't really, and it's my career, and it's what I dream of doing. So if I need to do it, I need to do it. So yeah, but my mum was always very, very supportive, and my dad has come over time when he realized that, it wasn't just a little thing. It was, a big move, and I actually have turned it into a career. So,
well, it all started with watching YouTube then at 10, and you then got a job to start with at Richard Spencer's at Sefton Lodge. Was that a good? Did that give you a good grounding?
Yes. So I worked for Spencer for about a year, and it was a great start. It's a bit of a bigger yard compared to my last yard. And I learned loads about how racing in England works, riding out. It was great to be on Warren Hill and see everyone. And I made loads of friends, and there was a lot of different horses coming through, which was great. So it was a brilliant start. But obviously to me, because I wanted to become an apprentice jockey, and at the time he already had a 7-pound claimer. So when I got the opportunity to go to Robert Edgeries, I went forward. And I really appreciate everything I learned at Richard Spencer's, but for me it was time to move on.
And then soon after you got your apprentice license, you had your first ride and also your first win on Tynecastle Park at Southall on the 5th of December 2019.
That's right, yeah. That was, so I finished it's actually a bit, so before you get your license, you obviously have to go through a license course, and to get onto a license course, you have to do a pre-license course, which is one day where you do a fitness test and riding test at either the British Racing School or the NHC in Doncaster. And so I went up to Doncaster for my pre-license test. But a week before this, I had a fall on the gallops in Newmarket. It was actually my first week at Roberts, and I hurt my ankle quite bad, so I couldn't walk on it a week before my test. And I was very, very fortunate to get in contact with the IJF in Newmarket, who helped me a lot and, got me ready for the test. And so I passed it, obviously, and got on to the next course, which was in November. I finished the course, I think it was on the 1st of December or something. And then the Tuesday, which must have been the 2nd, no, it must have been the 3rd, I got my license. And on the 5th, which was the Thursday, I rode my first race and it won. So that was a great experience, a really good start, which obviously it's a day I'll never forget. So, yeah.
And you were riding against professionals in that race, because I noticed that David Probert was second and former Grand National winner Graham Lee was also in the race.
Yes. Actually, all the races I've won have been in professional races. I've never won an apprentice race yet. But it's, obviously it was amazing to be in a field like that. And for me, like the horse, he's such a gentleman, and I've had 2 of my winners on him, and he loves Southall, and he literally just goes around and you let him do his thing, and he just tries so hard, which is all you can ask of a horse. And he took me over the line first, and I just remember crossing the line and hearing my name in Tynecastle Park, and it's like, this is crazy, this is what I've dreamed of doing. And because when you're in racing, very often you get a lot of people trying to put you down, trying to tell you, oh, you'll never get there, or not that you'll never get there, but maybe they were like, oh, you need to learn to walk before you can run, and these sort of things. And I was like, I knew in myself that, like in Denmark, I had done way more than I was doing in England. So I was like, I can do these things, but I'm just not able to actually show it to anyone. So for me to have that winner was just, and to have Robert believing in me and supporting me as he did was, incredible. And it really helped me off to a good start.
And you were 17 when you won your first race, yeah?
Yes, that's right.
And 3 days later, 3 rides later, you won again on George Thomas at Linfield.
That's right. That was another great day. So that was on the 21st of December. I had my 4th ride on George Thomas, and he had just come to the yard. We had bought him for £600 at the sales, and I think he was 16-1 in that race. No one really expected anything. Robert said, if you beat one, I'll be happy, obviously beat as many as you can, but if you'll beat one, I'll be very happy. So I was like, okay, fair enough. Let's see how it goes. We jumped off, and he just took me the whole way. And it was an amazing day as well, because it was quite unexpected. No one really saw it coming, and to ride an outsider like that and winning over the likes of Tom Marquand, who was on the favourite in the race, and Owen Walsh, I think, was second, and it was just incredible, really, to sort of follow up from the first win. because a lot of people had been like, oh, yeah, maybe I won on Tynecastle Park, but he is an easy ride, and he was favourite, and he was meant to win that race. But then I came there on an outsider and actually got him first over the line, so that's great.
You've been reading my notes because I put down you beat Tom Marquand down here. Now, you talked about apprentice races. How do they differ from riding against professionals?
So
careful what you say here.
Yeah, that's it. Personally, I really like riding in the professional races because I feel like everyone else sort of really knows what they're doing and what they want to do, and also they can often they can help you out if you have anything you need help with, or you have any questions or anything like that. They're just very helpful. And for example, that everyone knows, like a lot of, don't get me wrong, most of the apprentices are really good and knows exactly what they're doing with everything. But sometimes it can just, you just know if you're in a fully professional race that everyone knows what they're doing, where they are, and, that's kind of the biggest difference, I suppose.
Now, you've had 5 winners in your career. Do you think your race riding has improved through the volume of races you've had now?
Oh, definitely. My race riding has improved since I first started. It was a bit tough last year because of coronavirus. So I was obviously having the winners. I had the 2 winners there in December. Then in February, followed up with a Class 3 winner at Southwell on Tynecastle Park again. And shortly after, in March, I had another winner on Colwood at Chelmsford. So that kind of meant that I was getting quite a few outside rides, and everything was, going really brilliant. And I was kind of getting onto a good role there. And then lockdown happened. And when racing returned, 7-pound claimers weren't allowed to ride for a while. Sort of, obviously, all the jockeys were in England. Which of course the racing started back in the summer, so they would have been anyway. But I was very lucky to have Robert giving me the rides he did, because he's been very, very supportive. But the horses just weren't kind of quite on the form they were before COVID. So it took us a little while to get a winner, which we got in August with Elsie Violet at Yarmouth. And that was, finally we actually got another winner. And then since then, last year, I think I had 14 seconds with the ones in Denmark. So it's a bit hard sometimes when you look at that and you see, 5 winners, but 14 seconds. And you just kind of think, what if they had been winners? But it's always going to be like that, though. You are going to have more places than you are going to come first over the line. So it's part of the game, but it just makes a big difference, because as an apprentice, to get rides, you need winners, but to get winners, you need rides. So it can be quite tough sometimes. And because after lockdown, I kind of had to start all over again with riding and outsiders and trainers and everything. So it was a bit tough when you're then not getting any winners.
But it hasn't got you down too much.
I know, definitely not. And especially now, I'm looking forward to the new season. I've got a new yard, new team, new horses, and I think it's going to be good, with the upcoming races. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of races over the summer with 5 meetings on the Saturdays, and the jockey's only allowed to ride at one meeting a day. So that, I think, is going to help a lot of apprentices out, because that means that obviously people can't travel everywhere and ride all of the horses. Hopefully it's going to be a good year, this one.
Now, the other thing I was going to ask you, it's you sound very, very determined, but it's you have to really want to do the job you're doing. Can you let us know what a typical day? I know you've just moved yards, but you do a lot of hours, don't you, being an apprentice jockey?
You do, yeah. It's more of a whole lifestyle, because there's so much more to it. I go to work now at my new yard. We meet in at 5:45 to pull out at 6 o'clock. So I wake up 5:10, have a cup of tea, and sit down for a minute, and then I cycle to work usually. There 5:45, tack up, ride. At the moment, I'm riding 5 lots every day. So we just go through the morning. After 2 lots, we have a break, about 20 minutes, half an hour, where everyone has a cup of coffee and some breakfast. Then we continue till we usually finish around 12 o'clock every day. And then it's off. I usually go home and have some food, some lunch, unless I'm going jockey coaching, which I then do before. Then I go home, have some lunch, get changed, go to the gym. I'm at the gym for at least an hour every day. At the moment, I'm mainly going to the one at Peter Sullivan House in Newmarket. But before I used to go to Race Fit a lot, but due to COVID, the rules have changed and it's a bit harder to get in. So yeah, I really appreciate it. It's a brilliant offer we've got as jockeys to go out there, and we have personal training literally every day, or 5 days a week at least, with brilliant PTs. There's physios for us if we need it. There's a nutritionist we can see once a week, and it's just an amazing opportunity for us, and you really have to try and make the most of it.
But it really is a way of life, though. As a teenager, you can't do the things that a lot of your friends and teenagers can do during the week and at weekends, can you?
No, that's for sure. And then obviously after the gym, at our yard, we have evening stables every second day, which is very nice. So if I have evening stables, I have to be there at 6 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, sorry. And then it's from 4 till 5:30, 6 o'clock, where you do up the horses and give them water and feed and all that. And then usually before lockdown, I would then go back to the gym for some classes. And, it's hard work, but we do it because we love it, or at least I do. It's what I've always wanted to do. And, I enjoy it. And even though it's tough, and like, for example, I'm not able to go out as much as a lot of other people my age. Like, obviously with lockdown, it's been different, but like, I don't drink alcohol because it's just not, it's stupid. When you're trying to be an athlete, then you can't be going out every weekend doing something like that. But that wouldn't stop me from going out with my friends, though, every once in a while. You can still have fun and enjoy yourself and have a good time. But it's just, it's a fine line, and it's just finding what works for you and doing your best. And
also on a race day, the day can be even longer, I guess.
Oh, definitely. So on race days, it's it can be long evenings, especially in the winter time, when obviously you've been at work in the morning. I used to go to the races in the horse box a lot, which meant that we would leave very early. So we would drive up to the races, get there 3 hours before the race, then race, wait another hour for the horse to cool down and get settled back in, and then go back home. So it could be some long evenings sometimes. But, we do it because, as I said, we love it, and it's what I've always wanted to do. So we're just grateful to be riding, really, and so lucky that we've been able to during this national lockdown. It's actually incredible that we've been able to carry on.
Yeah, it's a credit to racing, really, that you've still been able to do your job, and people like myself have still been able to watch it on the television, which has been a big boost to a lot of people to be able to watch their favourite sports on the television. I've asked this question to several people recently. It might be a bit different from yourself because you've still been able to go to work, but is there anything on June the 21st, when the world, or in the UK, is supposed to return to some form of normality, that you would like to do that you haven't been able to do for quite a long time?
Well, yeah, so there's a few things. none of them really have to do with racing, of course, because
No.
we're
Have your
able to do
haircut,
that
I suppose. Yeah.
anyway. So I would love to go home, but that's not going to be on the 21st. That's just going to be when it's suitable. And then I'm just looking forward to going out for dinner with my friends, having a night out and seeing everyone again, and not having to worry about everything. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Well, that's not too long to look forward to, is it? So what about short-term ambitions racing-wise?
Short term, well, obviously now I've started at my new yard. It's new times. I just need to it's been a couple of weeks since I've been race riding. So I'm still waiting for my license to come through through the BHA. It's taken a bit of a while, unfortunately. It's a bit frustrating with the new season coming up this weekend with the big apprentice race, but it's nothing I can do. So yeah, I'm just hoping to start riding for Kevin and hopefully get some winners in again and get some more outside rides and just keep going, building up from there.
Is that the license coming through because you've moved yards, or?
Yes, so at the moment it's because the license has to come through because I've moved yards. I had a bit of a while off as well due to a fall, so I had to get a medical clearance, which also then took some time, but that's all come through now. So now we're just waiting for them to send it through to the new yard.
And that you said when we were off air, that was due to some concussion. Was that is that dealt with very well and feel confident that everything's all right?
Oh, definitely. So the BHA and the IJF have been brilliant here. So I had a fall in Newmarket, an unlucky fall on a concrete path where I banged my head and passed out. And the IJF, because I rung them up, I had a gym session on the day, so I got my housemate to ring them up and say we're going to have to cancel. And they sent me a text a couple of hours later saying if I needed anything, I should let them know. And then they, I could come out and see them. And the next day they rung me up and were like, oh, just wanted to know how you are and, everything. Would you like to come out and see a physio? And I was like, yeah, that'd be quite good because I was very sore and my head was not very good. And they were like, oh, we have a session now here in half an hour. Can you be there? And I was like, yeah, I'll be there. So I went out. And they then did a load of tests. So with my head and with my elbow and shoulder. And just kind of, then I went out there the first week I went every second day. And they kept doing these tests to see how I was progressing with the concussion and the elbow, of course, but that was a bit different. And then after that week, I started coming, and we slowly started going into the gym with the physios very steadily. And then, then I started going every day, and we started increasing the work slowly and seeing how the head was reacting to it. And then after, I think, 2 weeks, I rode out for Kevin for just one morning. And we were just seeing how that would go. And then I did so before you get your jockey's license, you do this thing called a baseline concussion test. And a baseline concussion test, well, you do it while you're still well, because then when you get a concussion, you then do it again. After a set while, they say, okay, now we think you're ready. So you do it again. And then they compare it to the old one to basically see how your head is. And so I passed that one, and then I had to go and see a neurologist. And I was very lucky that the BHA, basically, they pay for it. So they sent me into London to Harley Street to see a neurologist there, and just for him to clear me and say that he thought I was fine to race ride again. And we were also talking about the fact that a lot of jockeys, we get a lot of bangs on the head, and a lot of people underestimate the effect concussion can have on you. because when you keep getting these little bangs on the head, it adds up. And all of a sudden, you have to be really careful what you do. And that's also why I had to have a while off, because I had the concussion and they wanted to make sure that, I could have ridden out earlier, but because of that, and because it's living animals, you can't really say, oh yeah, I'll just ride out. Yeah, it's fine if it goes fine. But if you fall off again, then it can end up really bad. So it's very important with these things to really respect that you've actually hurt your brain and you need to take some time off. And I was very prone to, I was saying to my boss, I was like, hopefully I'll be in tomorrow, the day it happened. And it's like there's no chance I could have done it, because it's just stupidity, really. You have to really try and look after yourself, and even though it's hard sometimes to do so, because as jockeys we feel like we're missing out and things like that. So it can be tough, but you really do have to just look after your body to make it last longer, and hopefully you can have a good career that lasts a good few years. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for that. It's very interesting. It shows how serious the sport is taking it, which is very important, and how serious you took it yourself. And sort of medium to long term, what do you want to get out of the sport you obviously dreamed of doing?
Well, obviously, I would want to become a professional jockey. There's still 90 winners to go, so it's a little while. But no, the thing is, at the moment, I'm focusing on getting some more rides again in the new season, getting some more winners, then losing my 7-pound claim, and moving down through the claims that way, down through the 5s to the 3, and then see where it goes. Hopefully I would love to go abroad as well at some point, just to maybe just for a month or a couple of weeks, just see some different places, which would be great. Or even if I could get the opportunity to race ride in some other countries, it would be amazing as well.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you very much for joining me on the Paddock and the Pavilion. The best of luck for the new season, and hopefully see you in Newmarket not too soon.
Well, I'm sure you will. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Paddock and the Pavilion. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and now on Instagram at the Pad and Pav. Don't forget, if you like the show, please do leave us a rating and review.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
There's only one road into Key West, but you won't believe where it can take you. Travel back in time to a city rich with history. Discover amazing artists and musicians. Taste seafood fresh off the boat. Or just kick back and soak up the island vibe. For more about Key West, visit flakeys.com. Key West, close to perfect, far from normal.